You believe that it may have just been because he had a cold last night, because he wasn't feeling well.
Dear old Joe Biden, it was just one off night, wasn't it? One of the things I can't live without is Joe Biden reading everything verbatim, everything that's on the audio cue, like in a kind of, hello, I'm Ron Burgundy way.
I concur with Justice Sotomayor's dissent today. Here's what she said. She said, in every use of official power, the president is now a king above the law. With fear for our democracy, I dissent. End of quote.
I think sometimes why I feel so delirious and untethered is you can't have an objective opinion on, say, the Supreme Court. Like, the Supreme Court is good and just, or the Supreme Court is bad and unreliable. The Supreme Court's function, purpose, and moral evaluation alters depending on who is utilizing it on that particular day. This is hyperbole and it's what do you want to say, hysteria, I suppose, given that the Supreme Court has said that Donald Trump to a degree has immunity. People are saying, pundits I suppose, well we could use that immunity to do anything then. And it just makes me wonder, this kind of untethered hysteria, what is the set of principles and morals that we're actually protecting?
I guess, theoretically, President Biden, acting within the scope of his official duties, could dispatch the military to take out the conservative justices on the court, and he'd be immune.
Dispatch the military. I mean, even as a point of conversation and reflection, that seems pretty outrageous, doesn't it? Let me know. What about this? Steve Bannon, he's gone down today, and I would say that Bannon, who's been a good guest on this show, and I like Steve Bannon. I like Steve Bannon's 2 shirts. I like his natural hair lift. I like his go-get-em attitude. I like that really what I feel Steve Bannon is about. I don't know, man. I feel like Steve Bannon is about a challenging establishment power. Maybe you lot will say, no, Steve Bannon is a product of establishment power. Here he is giving a pretty good speech just as he makes his way off to prison. And again, does it seem right? What did he do? Like, he ignored a subpoena to testify in one of the hearings around January 6th. And January the 6th starting to feel increasingly like a media concoction, isn't it? Was it that bad? Was it that bad? Is it more of a confection, a construct of the media being used to delegitimize the Trump presidency? I mean, many of the charges that he is currently facing pertain to his handling of that event. And they sort of often extract that Nancy Pelosi is on camera saying it was my responsibility not to dispatch the National Guard. Do you see what I mean? Isn't it hard? Do you find it hard to say, right, this is the moral center? I know that a lot of you are full throttle MAGA, and like the full throttle MAGA people, in a way I envy you because you've gone, Trump! I don't think there are any full throttle Biden people anymore. What we're watching actually is the media meltdown as such a position becomes impossible to maintain. We're seeing the fissures and cracks as half of the media establishment says, oh my God, we can't back this guy anymore because the dementia is now evident. And others say, yeah, but with dementia or without dementia, he's still better than Trump. Let's have a look at our man Bannon on his way to Bird.
Coast to coast and streaming worldwide, you're watching CBS News 24/7, where we know we are seeing history write itself in real time. Think about it today.
History writing itself in real time. Hello, I'm history. I'm writing me. I'm shot me to stop me. That's weird. That's just time passing. That's just events being recorded. History writing itself in real time. That's an extraordinary piece of propagandist language.
Well, Donald Trump gets a ruling from the Supreme Court that he celebrates today. One of his men who helped get Trump to the White House is going to the big house. We're talking, of course, about former Trump aide Steve Bannon. He just reported to federal prison today in Connecticut.
Tonight, Steve Bannon behind bars. Before starting his federal sentence, he played to the lively crowd gathered outside the correctional institution in Connecticut.
What group of pirates is out here today?
The longtime Trump ally and former chief strategist surrendered himself to authorities to serve a 4-month sentence on contempt charges for defying a subpoena in the congressional investigation into the U.S. Capitol attack.
I am proud to go to prison. If this is what it takes to stand up to tyranny, if this is what it takes to stand up to the Garland, corrupt, criminal DOJ, if this is what it takes to stand up to Nancy Pelosi, if this is what it takes to stand up to Joe Biden.
He's actually laughing his way to jail, isn't he? And the very prospect of Nancy Pelosi's put a smile on his face. One of of the most enjoyable moments, if you ask me, of the post-debate meltdown has been watching Joe Scarborough try to reorganize reality as the backgammon board of his neurology has now been flipped, and he's trying to assemble some kind of order in his own mind. And even he and Micah cannot agree about what reality is anymore. And the kind of semiotic trope of the kind of man-wife hosts on TV together is starting to include even that dynamic of a marital spat, as Joe tries to sort of walk the tightrope between saying that he still loves Joe Biden but he should step aside, clutching his heart at one moment, before Micah pursues that other Democrat neoliberal establishment narrative of no matter what, let's keep, even if Joe Biden has to be pushed around in a wheelbarrow like C-3PO when he's being pulled apart, we've still got to put him on Chewbacca's back and have him carried around in a rucksack and try to decipher Chewie's oh. Maybe that would be a better debating style. Here they are, Morning Joe and Mrs. Morning Joe, grappling with a reality that can no longer be reliably held down.
If, however, you believe, as do I, and as do so many people who watch this program and who fear just how dark of a place a second Donald Trump term will take America, then I think it's critical that we ask the same questions about this man I love, respect.
I suppose the framing is, it doesn't matter how demented, and I'm afraid I'm using that word literally, Joe Biden is, a second Trump term will be so dark, so awful. He's already been president for 4 years. I didn't think it was that bad. I didn't really notice any difference, except the late night talk shows were all unified in their condemnation of a sitting president in a way that they wouldn't consider being currently, for example. What was so significantly different? I know that the MAGA folk out there will say, no, that it was better, there was more jobs and there were manufacturing increases and this was better and you had a better sort of feeling of kind of patriotic priapism. You felt a bit more boosted and stuff. But, you know, what I'm trying to do is neutralize the partisanship and say we're talking about two presidents who have each been president for one term, roughly 4 years each. I don't know, it's not like under one of them we all turned into orbs of pure consciousness and under the other sort of serpent creatures rained down from black clouds and we were all devoured by them. It was more or less the same. We can't continue to bring you this beautiful content without the support of our partners. Did you know that Americans are absolutely full of excretia? And Americans have more colorectal disease than any other human group anywhere on the planet. That is because you don't eat enough fiber. You're glugging down the milk. You're glugging down the meats. You're not getting no fiber in your diet. Yoga, weights, cardio, every exercise and sport are negatively impacted. That is why you need Dr. Schultz's intestinal formula #1. Do you know what it does? It promotes regular bowel movement. Dr. Schultz is going to make your poop into your dupe, your rube. You will be in control. You've got to take Dr. Schultz's intestinal formula #1. Visit herbdoc.com/brand for 25% off the product. You'll be better at sport. You'll be sleeping better. Visit herbdoc.com/brand, 25% off. Now, you'll excuse me, I have to kiss the sky. Oh, that won't work. Oh, I suppose it could work.
And whose public service in saving this country from Donald Trump over the last 3.5 years I honor and always will. I think we have to ask the same questions of him that we have asked of Donald Trump since 2016, and that is, if he were CEO and he turned in a performance like that.
Mike is not happy about where he's going, is she? She's looking down. She's looking down into Cardigan land. Oh, no, he's being quite critical here.
Would any corporation in America, any Fortune 500 corporation in America, keep him on as CEO? It was the worst debate performance in modern political history. And the question, Mika, I know that has to be asked is...
Yeah, what is it? I'm not even going to pretend to like you anymore, Morning Joe. You have too many fucking holidays, for one thing.
You believe that it may have just been because he had a cold last night, because he wasn't feeling well. There's so many opportunities that were missed last night that I don't think a cold...
Cold? Like, this is me when I get a cold. Oh, excuse me, I've got a bit of a cold. I don't turn into a person who's barely able to operate my anatomy. Dear old Joe Biden, it's completely clear, and has been for a couple of years now, hasn't it? Let's face it, that he's got some amentia, senility or dementia, and should be being carefully catered for, not just for his own well-being, but so that the people of America at large don't begin to think that their figures and public officials are little more than marionettes placed at the front of the stage while true global corporate power continues its dark masquerade, in order to prevent us realizing that modern bipartisan democracy is a kind of sham. You should at this point see a hook emerge from the side of the stage, yank him off, and then shove out dear old Kamala Harris, whipping up a word salad for everyone. Let's have a look at Micah desperately trying to scramble.
Now, Joe, our Joe, is off this morning on a planned vacation.
What do you mean planned? That sounds like you're trying to cover that. On a planned vacation. He's not had a mental breakdown because he realizes that everyone knows now that he's been lying about Joe Biden for the last couple of years. This is a holiday, a vacation that he's been planning for a very, very long time. He likes to go and practice his facial expressions in Sarasota for months on end.
On Friday's show, I should clarify, Joe said it may be time for Biden to consider stepping aside.
May consider. Two qualifying words.
He also said we should wait a few days to see how he responds. We're shoulder to shoulder on that. I do agree. Joe Biden has work to do. He has to do better.
It's not like work to do, he has to do better. Right. He could improve from here. We've got a good foundation of terrible senility. Let's build on that. That's not reliable, is it? It's like, we've got them things that go down the stairs. Let's build a house on it. What are those things? Slinkies. It's a slinky. His mind is like a slinky.
That's incredible! His team has to do a lot better. I'm just not ready, though, to count Joe Biden out.
That tells you everything. I'm not ready. She's like personally not ready. I'm still going to cling on to, for dear life, to the idea that Joe Biden is somehow capable. And so what we're watching here is the establishment, at least the media establishment, can't even formulate a cohesive response to its own visible entropy, perhaps unable to tackle the fact that the decay is the clear signal, that the decay is what's been masked for such a long time now. I'm not referring to Joe Biden's decay. I'm talking about institutional decay. I'm talking about the need for radical change of the deep state, radical change when it comes to lobbying. And when I say, you know, there basically was no difference between Trump's 4 years and Biden's 4 years, consider this. Consider a government that said, we're not accepting lobbying money anymore. We're not accepting donations anymore. We're decentralizing power. I'm going to make the role of government the bare minimum. We are going to ensure that our defense budget is only spent on our troops and military personnel. We ain't having 70% of that budget going via the Pentagon and shooting off into Lockheed Martin and Raytheon and Northrop Grumman. That's over. Them days are gone. Those days are over. What you would see is powerful interests fleeing. And until you have a political party that's offering you that, you don't got much, baby. Listen, hey, thanks for watching. If you want to see more uncensored content where free speech can flourish, join our live stream. Click the link right here to watch the next video if you want to, or become a member of a growing movement. Download the Rumble app and you'll be informed every time we make a new piece of content. Stay free.